خلينا نسوي هول. ظهر؟
نعم.
تمام. السلام عليكم. أحب أقدم نفسي. أنا روناك قيصر من جامعة الكرخ العلوم قسم أدلة جنائية، وراح ألقي المحاضرة بعنوان البايومتريك سيستم، وإن شاء الله المحاضرة حتكون كلها باللغة الإنجليزية. I hope you enjoy it, guys. So first, we talk about the biometric system. What is a biometric system? It is every feature that is characterize a thing, whether it is a human being. It is measured that does not change. It distinguishes the individual from the other, and devices and computer can measure, store, and sense it is efficiently speed. The security field that use a method for a purpose identification, which are something you know, like passport or personal information, something you own, such a personal card, something you have, such as a biometric like fingerprint, iris, and iris print. So, and then we have human vital features are divided into the three sections. As you show here in this figure, we have a vital tree that depend on physiological characteristic. They are trees that reflected the physics shape of the person and include the fingerprint, iris print, and genetic print. And biological trees that depend on behavior characteristic. This tree that reflect the human behavior, such as signature, and double tree that combine the physiological and behavior characteristic. This is include like footprint, and this is the figure we have divided into the physiological and behavior characteristic. So, and then we have to know the fingerprint. The fingerprint, it is imprint consists of prominated papillary lines in the abdomers of the skin that surrounding the depression. We know that the skin that have 3 layers, the abdomers, dermers, and hypodermers. This is line in the abdomers of the skin. And the prominated lines are above the opening of aesthetic pores. And here we have the mean type of fingerprint as shown in this figure that are divided on this group. The right slide, the percentage of percent, 31%, the left slope, the ratio percentage, 32%, and we have the roundabout percentage of percent, 30%, and we have an edge 70%. And we have talked about the next print. It is a Plantprint. The Plantprint have some advantage of the other biometric techniques for the hands, such as the fingerprints and hand geometry. The most important of which that the Plantprint is a large in size, or the Plant is a large in size, and it contain the abdomen features of different levels, such as the Renovox and plumb lines, texture, etc. And the Plantprint is more difficult because the texture of a Plantprint is more complex and difficult to counterfeit comparing to the fingers. And here we have this figure that shows the Plantprint and how we get the photo to the Plantprint. The Plantprint image that's captured by a fingerprint scanning of the camera. They are a 4 type of sensors for collection the image. The digital camera, the digital scanning, the video camera, and the scanning using CCD. The processing, it is converting the image from RGB to a gray and cutting only the plumb area from the hand, extracting the categories several methods that have been relied on extract the different Plantprint features. And here we have which are classified to 3 categories: the baseline, the plumb paste appearance, and plumb paste texture. And next print, it is the Eyeprint. The Eyeprint, I'm going to give you an introduction about the Eyeprint. Each person that have a special print which is not similar to anyone else. The fingerprint of the left eye print of the same person is different from the imprint of his right eye, iris. And the process of imaging the iris and retinal specialized camera is used for this process. And the person distance from is differed according to its type and type of lenses that use, lighting of the place, and the other factors. The iris, so what is the iris? The iris is one of the enteral organelles of the eye, and a part of control the light, and is responsible for the color in the eye. And also the iris is it is an enteral organelles. We can see it. The main function of the iris is control the level of the light that's entering the eye. The retinal is the last layer of the eye, which is the back of the eye, and is responsible for a vision because it is contain the light sensitive cell. And the eye print depends on photographing the color part of a circular shape located in the center of the eye, as now it is pupil, and obtaining the high resolution image for the pupil as soon as the person passes in front of the camera. The direct of his gas toward it and is sufficient to complete this process, and this is process called the iris skin. And after the categorize of the pupil and convert it to the digital code that using a special science such as a logarithm and the multiples, and then readable fingerprint is stored in database. The iris print, it is one of the best security method for verify the identity of people, as modern science has made it is clear that no two people have the same iris shape, which is mean that the eye print, it is unique and different, even in twins. And also the eye print is completely different between the left and the right eye of the same person. And here we have a figure that shows us the eyes, where is the location of the eyes and lenses and retinal. Then we gonna talk about the genetic fingerprint. Genetic fingerprint is a picture of a structure of the material carrying the genetic factor, which is contained the genetic trait of the person DNA. That is called the genetic imprint or a DNA fingerprint. And is one of the most important means that used for identifying people by comparing the section of the DNA, especially deoxyribonucleic acid. And currently, the genetic fingerprint is classified as one of the most prominent human advance in witness in the field of criminal investigation, with the aim of combating the crime and reducing them, as this is done by finding the human element or the evidence in the place where the crime occurred, such as like we have saliva, a drop of the sweat, hair, and addition of the semen. And then we're gonna talk about the DNA, which is called the genetic material structure. The DNA, it is two molecules wrapped around each other. Of these molecules is long sequences of nucleotide. Nucleotide in biology, basic unit in co-structure of deoxyribonucleic acid and RNA. They are the basic letter in which the gene are written, which is transmitted the description of the child from the mother and the father, and that's why we called it the genes inherited. The nucleotide also work in the process of the cell, replacing the signal between the cell of the body. The nucleotide also play an important role in metabolic process. Here we have this figure that shows us where we can find the DNA. We can find the DNA inside each cell in the human body. And the DNA is about 2 chromosomes. And DNA, we know it's like a double helix that found it inside this cell. And the DNA consists of the following. We have phosphate molecules and sugar molecules called deoxyribose, which is made up by 5 carbon atoms, and the molecules that is contain the nitrogen base, which is the adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Thymine in DNA, but in RNA we have uracil. And we're gonna talk about the short tandem repeat, STR. What are the short tandem repeat? One of the current technique for the DNA profiling that we use polymorphism that is called short tandem repeat. STRs are a region of non-coding that is contain the repeat of the same nucleotide sequences. Like for example, we have this figure here, as is shown here, we have the AGTC. That is a repeat that's repeated 6 times in set 1 of an STR. That is show us that the short tandem repeat is the time of the repeated, and STRs that is found in different places or genetic loci person DNA. And we're gonna talk about the DNA profile. So what is the DNA profile? DNA profile, one way to produce DNA profile is the scientist that is examine the STR at the 10 or more genetic loci. These genetic loci are usually on a different chromosome. The DNA profile can tell the scientist if the DNA is for a man or a woman, and if it is this sample being tested belong to a particular person. This figure you show here, we have this chromosome. Just see this, the location 17, the X chromosome, and location 18, the Y chromosome. These 2 chromosomes are responsible or can tell us if the person are male or female. If it is XX, that is female. If it is XY, it is male. And then we have the RNA ribonucleic acid. The RNA it is a biomolecules that is presented in almost of the living things and viruses, and play multiple roles in the transmitting, encoding, decoding, regulating, and expression of the genetic information, and catalyzing many chemical reactions. And the difference between the DNA and RNA, that the RNA is most cases exist as a short single chain of the several to the 1,000 of a nucleotide in the length, while the DNA is always in the form of double helix, with the length of the several million to the several billion base pair. However, the backbone sugar in RNA is ribose, while in DNA is deoxyribose. And we have the nitrogen base in DNA thiamine, while in RNA we have a uracil instead of thiamine. This is a structure that is show us the RNA. It is a single stranded, and we have a nitrogen base, is a cytosine, guanine, adenine, and a uracil, and it is a ribonucleic acid. And then we have the differences between the DNA and RNA. I mentioned that before in the last slide, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. The RNA that is contain the sugar ribose, while the DNA it is deoxyribose because this is linked to the 1 oxygen atoms. The RNA, the nitrogen base, they have a uracil, while the DNA, they have a thiamine. And also the RNA, that most RNA molecules are single stranded and can adopt a very complex 3-dimension structure, while the DNA always form in double helix. And here we have a process of the DNA fingerprint. We have extraction first in the DNA, then we do the reextraction, the enzyme that will cut the DNA into the pieces, DNA sample, and then transfer it to the gel electrophoresis, and then we will transfer it to the membrane, as you show here in this figure, and in 5-step incubation with the label probes, and then we do X-ray to this sample, and that show the DNA as a pandat in this figure, as you show here. It is called the DNA fingerprint. And thank guys for listening. If you have any question, please ask me. Don't hesitate. So.
عاشت ايدك بابا، محاضرة جميلة وقيمة جدا، متمكنة من اسلوبك مثل ما شفتي. اذا تراجعين بعد شوية شات، الاسلوب كان جميل بيها. دكتور عباس يقول حاولي
اي سؤال ان شاء الله.
لا تسمعيني ولا لا؟
نعم دكتور اسمعك.
تمام. اقول لك راح تشوفين بالشات الكثير مدح بالاسلوب والالقاء مالتك وسيطرتك على الماده، فعاشت ايدك. دكتور عباس يقول بس نصيحتي لا تستخدمين المصطلحات العامه اي جونا اي وانا، هذه المصطلحات على الاكسل الامريكي، مو تمام؟
اي نعم نعم.
اي فباللغه العلميه يقول لك انه لا، حاولي لا تستخدمينها يكون افضل. ونشوف اذا اكو اي سؤال من الاخوه والاخوات الموجودين وحتى من الطلاب اللي موجودين. اي سؤال؟ تفضلي دكتوره آلاء.
اوكي، يعطيك العافيه. هلا بدي بس سؤالي، الريفرنس يعني المعلومات اللي اعطيتينا اياها، بدنا اشي مثلا انوفيتيف، اشي جديد. يعني هذا نفس محاضرتي طلابي قبل 22 سنه، الدي ان اي والار ان اي، ايش اشي انوفيشن خاصه للكريمينال وللجرائم اللي بتصير عندنا، مثلا ان كان سرقات او ان كان واتيفر، او هلا في ليميتيشن اذا الفينجر برينت اجت فوق فينجر برينت ثانيه. لحد الان بالسجل الاجرامي ما عرفوا يعملوا اذا اجت بصمه فوق بصمه انه مثلا يشيلوا وحده او يقربوا وحده على وحده اذا هي خربت الفينجر برينت. هل في دور الارتفيشال انتليجنس هلا، لانه احنا هلا عصر التكنولوجيا وعصر مثلا في دراسات على في اللي هي مثلا المجرم لما ما يعرفش يحكي، لما تنفسه، دقات قلبه، في اشياء تانية مش بس اللي ذكرتيها. وبعدين هلا كتير 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 العالم عماله بيتجه للتكنولوجيا. الريفرنسز اللي رجعتيها لأي سنة وفقط، يعني أنا بس هذا تعليقي.
نعم
أي سنة المصادر والمراجع اللي رجعتي لها؟ تفضلي.
دكتورة، هي مو سنة محددة، أنا أخذتها يعني على سنوات، يعني من 2000 ولحد 2017 هيجي، ورجعت أخذت من 2018 ولحد 2020. أخذت ذني، شفت النبذة يعني مالتها، البوينت مالت اللي الشيء المصدر اللي يكونوها الأساس الثابت يعني بين هذا الشيء، أخذتهن بيناتهن، جمعتهن كلهن وسويت على أساسه إنه هذا البرزنتيشن مالتي. وبالنسبة طبعا أكيد إنه التكنولوجيا لها عصر يعني تتطور أكيد. فطبعا الجينيتك فينجر برينت تعتبر من أهم البصمات التعرف على المجرم بمسرح الجريمة. وأكو همنا عندنا بعض البصمات هذه ذكرتها، بصمة الإصبع وبصمة العين، الايرس برينت. هي ايرس برينت تعتبر كلش همنا مهمة بالتعرف على المجرم همنا بالمسرح الجريمة. ونفس ما ذكرت إنه بعض التقنيات يعني ما زالت هسه قيد التطور، فيعني إن شاء الله يعني نقدر نتعرف على يعني المجرم من خلال يعني شلون نقول إنه طريقته أو هيك شيء، يعني من تتطور بعض التقنيات همينة إن شاء الله.
تمام إن شاء الله. ملاحظة ثانية أيضا بالنسبة لاستخدام اللغة مثل الدكتور عباس، فدكتورة قلبي أيضا تقول لك إنه مثلا ما يصير واحد يقول جايز، لأنه هنا احكي مجمع علمي دائما، يعني هذه تفيدش بالمستقبل. أنا أعتقد هي استخدمت هاي حتى تبين لنا إنه هي بيرفكت باللغة وسباعية وبطلة.
نعم دكتور نعم.
فحبت إنه حبت تتفاخر علينا شوية بالأسلوب مالتها.
لا دكتور، من الدرجة.